When I got into my cell, I felt trauma from my life, like abandonment issues that I already had. I was just at rock bottom. There is no hope for me, like I might be going to prison. I couldn't even fathom that this is truth. This is what's going on right now. So here's a picture of my mom and my dad. You can tell that they're kind of young. They were dressed up. Here's another one of my dad and me on the couch. I was about less than a year old. He was probably around 20 years old. I was born in 2000 here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My parents were 18 and 20 years old when they had me. So when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time with my grandpa on my dad's side and my grandma on my mom's side. This one is from around preschool age. You can see that my grandma thought straight bangs were a great choice for me. When I was in 3rd grade, I started to feel sick before I go to school. I would tell my mom that I don't feel well, and I would convince her that I had to stay home from school. So I didn't know about anxiety. I didn't know what that was, but if I was made to go to school, it got worse. I was missing more than half of the days in a school year by 5th grade every year. This is me and my grandpa. My grandpa was such an important role in my life. We always went to the park when I was a kid, fed the geese growing up. That was kind of our thing. My grandpa was my lifeline, and I could always trust him to be in his right mind. And my mom struggled with addiction, so I would always be able to trust him for being him and that he would show up if I called, no matter what. He really made himself so available for me. He found out that he had cancer when I was in 4th grade, and I really didn't know how to process that. I didn't understand what it really meant. I began calling him every night to tell him goodnight, and we did that every day until he passed. It was really hard for me because he was everything to me, and I guess that I felt like I didn't have anybody I could call anymore. I felt like I was left with a bunch of maybes. I began trying to bury the grief. I started drinking. Shortly after that, I started smoking marijuana. I just wanted anything that might take it away. I learned really quickly that that wasn't taking it away. I had to do a lot of work to not think about it. That hole inside me, it just stayed there. When I got to high school, I started taking Xanax. In the beginning, it helped me to feel like I could be myself, helped me to feel like I was not sick in the morning before school, and I would go willingly and excitingly because I felt okay. Shortly after the first month of taking them, I started feeling anxiety again, so I'm like, I better take more. And that just keeps going and going and going until I'm taking 3 a day. At this point, that is when the fentanyl started becoming popular. People were pressing fake bars with fentanyl, and so I was taking fentanyl, and I thought I was taking Xanax. When I learned that it was fentanyl, I didn't care because it was still doing something for me. When I graduated high school, I met a guy. He was in recovery and he was on probation, and he was kind of telling me, you know, don't use Xanax, you know, you're an amazing person, you don't need that. I didn't have any recovery in my life, but I wasn't using anymore because I had this boyfriend who was holding me accountable that we were not going to do that. Well, a little while down the road, he thought that it might be a good idea that he needs more money and he asked to go back to selling marijuana. Well, one day I went into my bedroom and he was acting very oddly, and I knew something was up, and I had caught him in the closet with a lot of Xanax. My house was raided because I let my boyfriend deal drugs from my house. And they found 300 Xanax in my underwear, and it gave me a level 3 dealing charge. I wasn't dealing drugs. It's out of love, I just cared. It wasn't my fault. When I got into the holding cell, I was starting to really realize that this is like the end of my life. A level 3 felony carries 16 years, and I was 18 years old. I fell to my knees, and I remember looking up to God, and I said, God, why? Why are you allowing this in my life right now? I begged God to just hold me. Hold me, God. Help me. Comfort me. I get this mini New Testament, and I read this verse, whatever you pray, believe you have received it, and it will be yours. That one did wonders for my faith, because as soon as I learned that if I would just have the faith and believe that God was going to do what he says he's going to do, that he would. So I began praying for a really good attorney. And I got a letter with a really good attorney. And the next thing that I prayed for was that God would send me to Kara's house. There were a couple of places that came to my mind that I had heard about. And when I went to court, I was told, you've been accepted to all 3. And I told the judge right there, I said, I would like to go to Kara's house. The first time that I walked into Kara's house, it wasn't what I expected. I expected less. I expected it to be more run down, like a halfway house. And I walked in, and it looked so amazing in there. And the smiles that I was greeted with, and I was like, wow, they cared about me, that I was there, I mattered. Therefore, do not be anxious about your life, saying, what will we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows.
I think it was for a couple months that we actually met up each day in the same area, colored, watched TV, and just spent time together. And I hadn't had friends in a long, long time, so her friendship was so refreshing to me.
Lexi at first was like a stubborn child because she was young. So we prayed real hard for her, and we just said to God, she's gonna make it. She came from being this young woman that didn't have any care, any respect for anybody, to this beautiful Barbie that I love to call her, but to this beautiful woman that knew her place.
I've been saved and changed completely by God through going to the Kara's house. They taught me how to deal with triggers, trauma, abandonment issues, and grief. Those loving arms, they taught me what it was like to be like Christ.
Yes. I'm very proud of Lexi today. I see such huge change in her, and it's beautiful. It's only what God can do, and I watch Lexi walk that out every day. I love her with everything, and I'm so proud of her.
Without the rescue mission, I don't think I would ever have any recovery. I wouldn't have been able to stand firm and strong through all of those situations that life threw at me, even after leaving there. It's really the rescue mission that sparked a whole new life.